In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in Black and White emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our.
Good evening, family. Welcome to another powerful episode of America in Black and White, where truth meets testimony and where the lived experiences of our people become blueprints for liberation, leadership, and legacy. Tonight, we sit with a man whose life reminds us that survival is not the end of the story, it is the beginning of purpose. A man who has taken the weight of struggle and transformed it into system support, pathways of access, and words that heal. Dr. Keyimani Alford is not just a higher education leader. He is a bridge builder, not just an author, but a truth teller, not just a publisher, but a liberator of voices, and not just a motivational speaker, but a living example of what happens when God's grace meets grit, discipline, and destiny. So settle in tonight as we explore survival, identity, leadership, authorship, and a sacred responsibility of lifting others as we climb. This is season 4, episode 13. This is community. This is legacy. This is America in Black and White. Let's bring to the stage Dr. Keyimani Alford. Hello, sir.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me today, Charles King.
I definitely appreciate it. I hope all is well. And is there anything you'd like to share with our audience before we get into the show?
I am just happy to be in this space in order to be able to share and be in community and have discussion on tonight.
Yes, sir. I definitely appreciate that. And so, how I'd like to start the show tonight is I'd like to give people some insight so they can get the understanding and getting to know you, Dr. Keyimani Alford. You know how you started and how you got to the point of where you are now. So we'll talk about your life story, your personal journey here in the beginning.
Awesome. So, yeah, I currently reside in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I have been a native of Wisconsin probably for over 30 years now. I initially got my start in the Bay Area where I was born and transitioned from Oakland, California to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where I've basically been here I would say all of my life almost. Going up through the public school system and meandering through the various aspects of challenges and obstacles and making different decisions in a sense to be able to create opportunities for others to be able to inspire others. Understanding as far as some of even my challenges within life, I moved into higher education. So I've been in the higher education field actually since 1999, although I only look about 20. But I've been in this space because it was an opportunity for me to give back, to be able to lean on my own lived experiences coming from a poverty stricken background, dealing with drugs, dealing with abandonment, and having to make decisions specifically that was the best for me in order to create a better future for those who come after me. So I started in higher education, specifically in the financial aid area. And from there, I enjoy the opportunity to be able to connect with people who was around me. So other underrepresented backgrounds, ethnicities from everywhere in order to be able to support their dreams and aspirations. But even within that space, I also realized as far as the power of giving back and the power of depositing into the lives of others. And during that particular time, I ended up just moving throughout the particular system. And as I did that, I Took on additional responsibilities. Currently, I serve as the Associate Vice President of Student Access and Success at a 2-year community college here called Madison Area Technical College in Madison, Wisconsin. And I've been doing this work as a means of access and a means specifically to provide hope and allow others to be able to see someone that looks like them in a space to let them know that they can overcome any challenge and obstacle that comes their way. And from there, it allowed me to spark opportunities to be able to speak to others, to be able to deposit into the lives of them in order to give some hope, give some inspiration, and be an example that you, in a sense, don't have to allow the opinions of others to dictate with your future. There's a powerful quote that has stuck with me over the years, and it's never let someone's opinion become your reality. Many people have things to say about us, but it's our opportunity to define what our future is. So that gives you a understanding as far as where I am and somewhat of my journey. And I'm sure you'll get more insight as far as to who I am as an individual as we have additional conversation.
Yes. So can you start and can you tell us who was Dr. Kiyomani before the titles, the books, and the leadership roles?
I would say he was a nappy-headed kid growing up on the streets of Milwaukee and Oakland. Really just one, I'm a single um individual here, I would say. I have no sisters or brothers. So I was one who was the only child who had to learn how to be self-sufficient. Um Keyimani in all of his glory had to be one who had to grow up fast, understanding the dynamics of not having both of your parents around while you're a teenager. You end up experiencing different things that you have to put to rest, I would say, and not take the route of being a victim and make decisions that is best for you and for your future. So Kimani at that point was a decision maker. He was one that was determined to graduate from high school. He was one that was determined to understand as far as what higher education could do for him and what opportunities it could unlock for his future. He was one who understood that family is not necessarily defined by blood, but is defined by those that are around you and the ones in the sense that can deposit into you. So from that, it allowed me to grow, and Kimani grew into a young, respectable young man who really understands the power of giving back and being a testament to the strength and the power, I would say, and also purpose that is assigned to our lives, and understanding that there's nothing that we go through that is by accident. Things that we experience in life are meant to happen to us as a tool or a lesson for us to leverage it in order to be able to speak into the lives of someone else, and then also be a testimony that the things that we go through are things that can be overcome and to be able to support someone else. So that's in a nutshell who Kimani is.
So, what early experiences shaped your understanding of survival and identity?
I would say the experiences that shaped my aspect of survival and identity has one, realizing that growing up in an urban city. So I was born in Oakland, California. And during that particular time, I was surrounded by so much. Um, I had drugs going in and out of the house. I had a single mother attempting to raise me. However, she was battling her own drug addiction. I had a father that was in the city, but there was a level of separation where I would hardly see him from time to time. And the times that I did see him, sometimes there were broken promises. There were moments in the sense that I waited for him to come and get me, and he never showed up. So I had to navigate some of those type of situations. I had to navigate the reality that although my mother loved me and I knew that she loved me, she didn't have the capability in order to truly care for me in the way that she desired to do that. So based off of that, it created moments where I shuffled between aunts in California, and in one defining moment, I ended up shifting and shuffling from Oakland, California to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, to stay with another aunt who, at one point, came to Oakland and saw me in the state that I was in and made a decision to help to pull me out of that situation so that I can have a future. And based off of that, it taught me so many lessons. One, as far as to be able to survive situations and heal from situations, you have to, one, recognize it and you have to face them. And we can never get past or heal from something that we do not face. So it gave me a moment to really reflect and understand that survival isn't necessarily just living. Survival is being able to reflect on life and then be able to move past the things that you do face in order so that you can live. And then also, as far as identity, it gave me, from having to experience all of the things that I experienced, it gave me a level of grit and self determination, that the situations that we face, the challenges that are presented to us, that they do shape who we become because we have to learn how to navigate them. But not only navigate them, learn how to exist within them, because every situation that we face isn't resolved immediately. Sometimes we have to learn lessons in the midst of the circumstances and situations that we're facing. So it gave me a level, of responsibility to say, what am I going to do based off of this situation that I'm given? Am I going to take a route where I'm considered to be the victim? Or am I going to take a route where I can offer forgiveness for the things that I'm facing that I felt that I should have had? However, it gives me the ability to look at the situation as well and say, for my future self, I want to create conditions and opportunities that does not allow me to face what I faced before. So that helps to define as far as the identity of who I am, but then also address the level of survival and being able to tell the story of what I experienced and what I went through in order to shape what my future is. Because a lot of times we can leverage a situation and say, whoa, it's me. I went through this and it's now my crutch to give opportunity to things that might not be favorable for who we can be as people. So instead of looking at it from that, I took it from a perspective, a positive perspective, in order to truly move past it and truly define what Keyimani is, or who Keyimani is, and what surviving really means.
Wow. That's a whole lot to be a young man, a young kid, growing up and having to have the abilities to do all of that. I mean, like, who was assisting you while you were doing this navigation? Because you was really you were navigating life at a very young age.
Yeah, I always say that God is very strategic and he
Mhm.
knows, um, as far as the different things that are going to occur with us within our lives. Things are orchestrated. I truly believe, my faith says things are orchestrated in order to get us to a particular point that we're going to get within life. So there's different situations that we're going to face different lessons that we're going to experience. And I know personally that God's hand has always been on me. He's revealed it to me throughout many moments within my life that he has, given me those moments where I'm saying, okay, God, I know this is you. You've provided, you've created an opportunity, you've created this space. But I have other people that I feel that's been in my life. One is um, my aunt who actually came to Oakland, California, and saw me and brought me back to Milwaukee. I consider her to be my guardian angel. And I believe that she is one that God strategically put in my life to change the trajectory of my life. And I give her a lot of credit because based off of the relationship that I had with her, which often happens within the Black family, where you have A matriarch, a patriarch comes into our families and sees the situation, and their goal is to keep the family together, or in a sense, to be that person that helps to change what could have been with us. And it was the same situation with my aunt, where she came in and saw that, and she deposited different things into me. She instilled as far as the whole aspect of hard work. She instilled into me as far as determination. Now I got them from other aspects and other areas within life as well. But she was the one that told me and sat me down at one point. She said, if you never get married, I want to make sure that you know how to cook. I didn't realize it then,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it was those kind of lessons that she saw in the future that said, I want to make sure that you're self-sufficient enough in order for you to be able to take care of yourself based off of where you've come. So I'm going to arm you with different things. She was the one that told me that if you don't do anything else as you're working, if you can't save $20, make sure that you save at least $5. Instilling the whole aspect of being responsible when it comes into your finances and allowing yourself to build for a rainy day, as she told me. And it's those type of lessons in the sense that she taught me and gave me as far as that time in order to build who I was as a character. And from there, it allowed me to mature. It allowed her to develop a level of trust for me that she didn't worry about me. I could have done anything I wanted to in life, and she was the one that knew she did what she needed to do in order to instill those values and principles and morals into me. And it was one that a relationship that I held to a high esteem, based off of what she did, because I knew that she didn't have to do it. And that's the blessing behind it. I've had other folks that's been in my life as well. I mean, there's different lessons that I even had from my dad, although he wasn't around. I was able to glean the hard work that he had, the work acumen, being a sanitation worker for over 30 years in the city of Berkeley, and understand as far as his aspect of to be able to provide in the times and the relationships that I had with him. It was always work hard, do what you can to provide for your family, and then you'll be all right. And it was those kind of conversations that I treasured. Of course, I have my mother, although things were not the best at that particular moment, but there were still lessons that I gleaned from her. She has a heart of gold.
Mhm.
And I understood that even though people struggle within life, there's still another person behind the struggle. And as they have to deal with life and live life and wonder how you're going to meander through life, there's still a soul and a person underneath it. And from her, it just taught me as far as the whole aspect of to just be free, to be able to enjoy life, do the things that you want to do within life, under your means, that you can basically celebrate yourself, but then also just be a loving and giving, kind hearted individual that gives people chances and gives people opportunities. So there's just been various aspects of it, and then just other people. Even when I was in Milwaukee, I was heavily involved in the church. And actually, I shouldn't say was heavily. I'm still heavily involved in the church, but like over 30 years, where I had a pastor, or I have a relationship with my pastor now that's well over 30 years, and he was a mentor to me too, someone that I can look up to, and he took time to deposit into me and to help to shape the responsibility of who I am. And honestly, he's one of the individuals, or one of the reasons why I'm so strong when it comes into leadership, because he put me into leadership positions at the age of 14. And
Wow.
I was in a leadership position where there were people 50 years of age that will had to listen to me in order to do different things within the church. And now it's an opportunity where I've basically been in every position within the church and done so much within the state, across the country, in order to look at organizational development and leadership type of strategies. And it all started from within the church from a young boy at the age of 14, based off of people giving me opportunity and seeing value within me. So it's moments like that, and people that God has put in my life in order to help order my steps, but then also to dictate who I could become as a man.
Mhm. Growing up between Oakland Hills and Milwaukee Rivers, influence your worldview?
Yeah, so Oakland Hills, Milwaukee Rivers, of course, is my memoir. Oakland Hills, Milwaukee Rivers, a memoir of survival, identity, and purpose. So it's a memoir that allowed me to reflect on all of the challenges that I faced. And it took me a minute, about 4.5 years, close to 5 years, in order to put pen to paper and thoughts and heart into that particular work. And when I did that, it took me on a journey. It took me on a journey of reminiscing situations. It took me on a journey of realizing, even as an adult, there were things that I really wasn't over. And it's something when you revisit moments, how they surface old emotions, or it puts something in front of you that you have to face. And I often say that the memoir is like you holding up a mirror because you're going to see yourself in my story. But it helped to inspire me because it allowed me to revisit situations that I might have needed to give forgiveness to. So, parents, my own self, being able to realize and face as far as the relationships that I wish that I had, and I held as far as a level of bitterness to folks. It allowed me to look at situations and reflect on the good times, to reflect on the bad times, to offer myself a level of comfortability to even talk about delicate situations, but then also to create space for others to see a level of vulnerability. Um, and sometimes, even as Black men, we don't like to talk about the things that truly hurt us, the things in the sense that might contribute to us being broken at some point in our lives. And that book, Oakland Hills, Milwaukee Rivers, created that moment to have that space to have dialogue that truly impacts and pierces the heart of people. It's lived experiences that many people are walking around and we're carrying, but sometimes we don't want to take it off. And we're carrying it from a relationship to relationship, from situation to conversation without unpacking why are we feeling the way we're feeling? And why is it influencing our future? Why is it that I'm in a conversation and I get mad about a situation? Or why is it that when somebody doesn't show up, I get upset about it? A lot of times it traces back to our own personal trauma, and we don't realize it because we pack it. And when we pack it, we don't deal with it, and then it shows up somewhere else in another space. And then we wonder why we can't get past different things, or I would say why things continue to come back. Because I believe that when we're faced with problems and situations, if we don't deal with them, they're going to come back until we learn the lesson in the situation in the sense that is presented to us. So that's how it basically influenced the Oakland Hills, Milwaukee Rivers influenced me just overall.
What was the moment you realized your story had power beyond your own healing?
So I've been in higher education since 1999, and I've always found myself working with students who had situations going on. They would come into the office, hey, Keyimani, I'm dealing with X, Y, and Z, and I'm able to relate to it. And they'll sit, in some cases, sit in my office and shed tears, telling me about their story, and I'm able to relate to them. And as I'm relating to them, I'm seeing the power of transformation and the power of connection because they are one seeing that they're not the only one that's dealing with the situation, but they're also seeing that they have an advocate that is there in the sense that's on their side that's able to support them. So as I spent the many years of working with students and being able to address the situation that they were facing within the financial aid space and within higher education, it allowed me to know that in my conversations, both inside higher education and outside of higher education, because I always felt like people felt comfortable talking to me, telling me their problems, telling me their issues, and it was really easy. And it's not anything as far as that I'm bragging about, but people will just say, "You're so comfortable to talk to." It's like I can sit here and talk to you and tell you about all about my problems. And I didn't think, since I was a counselor per se or psychiatrist. However, the spirit, in the sense that I had, was open and inviting, so people felt comfortable in order to share their information. So as we would have those conversations, I would share my conversations with people and or my life with people, and it was like, wow, I never knew you went through that. As a matter of fact, I got a text message today from a friend that's reading Oakland Hills, Milwaukee Rivers, that I've known for 15 years. And he's finishing up the book, and he said, "You know what, Keyimani, I never knew you went through all of that stuff in your childhood." It was like, and now, and he said, "And now you're a doctor." Wow. So it's moments like that that allowed me to be reassured, and comments like that that reassured me that my story wasn't just for me. That,
Mhm.
and it takes me back to what I said earlier, that I believe all the things, in the sense that we go through, isn't just for us, it's for somebody else to benefit from. And as I went throughout life and had those moments and those experiences, it became very clear that my story was not just for me. It was for other people to be able to heal from, to be able to relate to, and then also to be transformed by.
I will tell you this. That's a gift from above. When you have people that actually sit down and they tell you how comfortable you are to talk to, that's a gift from above. And that's one that's not to be taken lightly, because that means that you have an impact and the ability to help people to see the right way and to steer them in that right path.
Absolutely.
That's a gift.
Absolutely. And it's one that I appreciate 100%, even with the weight that it sometimes carries and the
Mhm.
responsibility that comes along with it. I still thank God, one, for the opportunity to have experienced that and to be able to relate to people, but then also to be, I would say, that nugget that allows a person to be able to move forward and see a different perspective to things.
Guide you through the most challenging seasons of your life.
Would say that question one more time for me?
How did faith guide you through the most challenging seasons of your life?
Yeah, so faith has been somewhat of the cornerstone, or I would say the nucleus of me. When I was in California, my dad was a deacon of the church. And when I was really young, he was a deacon of the church, and we went to a family church. So I have vivid memories of the church, Greater Galilee Church in Oakland, California. They're closed now, I think, but my mind goes back to those type of elements and those moments, seeing the church and being connected to God within that space. And then when I transitioned and left Oakland and came to Milwaukee, my aunt was in the church. So you can consider her to be like one of the mothers of the church. And she did different things, teaching Sunday school and working in the kitchen. And she was one that was a role model for me. So she, just imagine, um, aunt, an elderly woman in her room with her Bible, sitting on her bed, and she's reading the scripture, or the one that's encouraging you, give thanks to God, be thankful to God. Um, God has a plan for you, and instilling those levels of aspirations into you, and declarations and proclamations, aspects of it into your own lives. Um, where it helped to shape who I was, and also to introduce a greater love and respect for God. And when that ended up happening, I started going to church with her. And as I went to church with her, my relationship with God started developing even stronger, to the point where at the age of 14, I went to California when I was 11. I mean, to Milwaukee when I was 11. And but at the age of 14, I left the church that she was at and went to another church of a younger preacher that came out of her church that had started a church. He started a church at the age of 22. And I left and went and followed him. And that's when I started basically getting into building my relationship. So it moved from being over a choir to being a Sunday school teacher to being an assistant to being a deacon of the church. So it grew over time. And as that relationship with me and God grew, so did as far as my love for God and Him revealing different things as far as that connected to my purpose and who I was as an individual and who He said I was and what I could be. So it's been astronomical when it comes into the whole impact of what faith has. One is to be able to believe um, in a higher power, but then also to believe that there's a purpose specifically for your life. And I think that's the greatest element of it, to understand that I was not created just by happenstance. Keyimani was not born. And I often say that out of all of the eggs that our parents carry, the one egg got fertilized and that egg became me. Why is that? Because there's purpose that's assigned to my particular life. And it took some time for me to realize that I have a particular reason, a particular purpose here on this earth that I'm supposed to fulfill. And no one else can fulfill it. And no one else, in a sense, can make the impact besides me. And that helps to drive as far as who I am and my connection and appreciation to God, because He chose me to do something to impact others as far as that I'm encountering and having these relationships with. So it means so much to me within life, and I appreciate it every day.
So let's transition over to your work in higher education leadership. What called you into the world of higher education?
I would say curiosity. I never in the beginning thought that I would be in higher education. I stumbled across it because I was working in fast food for about 6 years, from the age of 14 to 16. I was in fast food and it was something I enjoyed. I had worked my way from a cashier all the way up into a assistant store manager. I was right underneath the actual store manager, working 7 days a week on the salary, making $400 a week during that particular time. And during the time, that was a lot of money to me. But I had I was going to college. I was in my undergrad program in my sophomore year, and I was like, I wonder what it's like to work in the financial aid office. And that curiosity sparked an email, and I sent it to the financial aid office. And it was like, we're hiring work study students. Can you come in for an interview? They interviewed me. I ended up working as a federal work study student for 3 years. And after I worked in that particular area, I appreciated as far as the connection that I was having with students and the relationships that I was getting, because all of a sudden students of color from around the campus started coming to see me. Like, go see Keyimani. So it was refer word of mouth. You need to go see Keyimani. And I would help them get through their particular situations. And at that time, I was going for my undergraduate degree in criminal justice because I thought I was going to be a law enforcement officer. And what ended up happening was I did an internship with the Department of Natural Resources. And during that internship, I decided during my senior year that I didn't want to go into law enforcement. And I decided to stay in higher education because two financial aid advisor positions opened up, and I applied for one and ended up getting one, and then a colleague got the other one. And that launched somewhat of my career in higher education, and I've been in it ever since. I've done different things, of course, but my primary impact has been higher education. And I've saw so many lives change and so many opportunities um, be presented, and then also so many moments that I really saw as far as my impact just overall. So that's kind of like where it all started.
Do you define student access and success in today's educational landscape?
You said, how do I define it?
Yes.
I define it based off of opportunity. So if we create moments where students come to us and they're facing problems and we don't have the structures and the systems in order to be able to support them, that's not access. We've created programs, yes, but if we're not creating something to help guide them through those particular moments of vulnerability, I would say, then we're not truly creating that level of access. The success element of it comes from when you have someone that's there to help guide them through those processes and to build those relationships to make sure that they accomplish the goal that they want. A lot of times I say as higher education professionals feel that we know what's best for that student, but we don't define success for the student. Each student has to define success for themselves. So our responsibility is to be that conduit that helps them to define that success, but then also reach that level of success that they look for. So it's literally being available, or I would say willing and able, in order to guide that student through that whole process. So that's how I would define it.
So, what unique challenges do first generation students face that institutions often overlook?
Oh, I would say the first one is thinking that they know that first generation students know the process. It's sometimes it's mind blowing that we know that it's a first generation student that's coming to us, meaning that they're the first one in college. And we feel sometimes that they know how to do college. It's like an oxymoron. Like how would that even happen? So that's one of the things in the sense that we sometimes overlook because we've been through those processes. So we automatically assume that the student is going to know those processes. And that's one thing as far as one of those things that's happened. I would say the other thing that is out there is that first generation students have the resources in the sense to be successful. That's not the case. There's so many things that are going on in lives of students even now that we can't just thinking about the academic elements of them needing support. We have to think about the holistic element of the student. What is going on in the student's life that we can help them support? Do they need childcare? Do they need food? Are they dealing with food insecurity? Are they dealing with finances? Are there short-term type of situations that are occurring within their lives that they need support in order to get through the hump? Do they need something as simple as a gas card so that they can put gas in their car so they can make it to class? It's those type of elements of different things that we forget about. But then also the whole aspect of what are they learning within the high schools in a sense that's going to come with them into college that's going to be beneficial for us to be able to focus on. What are the mental state aspect of it? What are some of those mental health issues that are out in our communities that they're bringing into our space that we automatically think that we have the stellar student when there's nothing else that in the sense that they are struggling with. So it's things like that where we have to get beyond ourselves and where we are and really position ourselves to be able to support the students and think about the holistic needs of the students and not just the academic needs. And sometimes we miss that. And there's so many aspects of that work and of that relationship that it's important for us to like really hone in on that and ask the student, what do you need in order to have a suite of resources to be able to support them during their academic journey?
So, how do you ensure equity is not just a value, but a practice at Madison College?
You have to embed it in everything that you do, meaning that thinking about your processes, thinking about your policies. Does this process support all of our students? Does this policy alienate any of our students? And have those hard conversations and discussions with people and bring folks in from those spaces to be able to provide that perspective of those lived experiences of the cultures, of the races, the ethnicities that our students are basically having when it comes into the intersectionality of who they are as individuals, and have those hard conversations in order to say, all right, we're thinking about doing X, Y, and Z. If we do this, who is it going to impact? Is it going to alienate anyone? Is it going to prevent anyone from being successful? When you do that, then you create an opportunity for equity, because equity isn't just one particular thing. It's looking at the various people in the stages that they're in and seeing if everybody can achieve the same goals, even with different things being given to them for them to be successful. If there's a picture of, and it's a common picture of three kids, I think three males, people in the sense that's looking over a fence. One is tall and they can see over the fence themselves. There's another one that's on a stool, that has to like peek over the fence. And then there's another one with another stool per se, that has to do that. That paints a really vivid picture of it, that everybody isn't created equal. There are different support systems that have to be in place in order for everyone to see over the fence. And that's the way that we have to think about our support within higher education in order to truly ensure equity is there. And it's not, well, I'm going to give you $500 because Keyimani might not need $500. Keyimani might need $1,000 in order to accomplish what he needs to do. And it's that level of support in the sense that has to be there.
Yeah, that's interesting as well, because I think when we think of equity, as you was just explaining, I think it's a whole slew of things. But when we just look at this as a whole, is your institution one of those that it took them some time, or it's still taking them some time to adjust to encompassing everybody instead of a segment?
Mhm. I think every institution has to do work in order to create spaces. As we as people evolve, so does institutions. There's a saying that I used to hear all the time. I think I even got it from the church, that the biggest room in anyone's house is the room for improvement. We can never get to a point that we feel that we have arrived and we have satisfied and corrected every problem, every obstacle, and since that our students are facing, that the institution is facing. So we have to continue to evolve with time. And as we evolve with time, we evolve with the needs of the people that's within our spaces in order to serve them. So, yes, we make gradual steps, in order to ensure that access is there for populations of students, that success is there, that metrics are there in order to be able to gauge that and to assess that. But I think institutions will never arrive to that particular moment because we often have to evolve as society and the needs of our people are evolving in order to do that.
What does belonging look like for underrepresented students?
What does belonging look like for underrepresented students? Literally, is for them to feel that they are a part. Belonging simply means that I feel comfortable in the space that I am currently in, that I can be my true, authentic self in this space that is created for me, or in this space in the sense that I am meandering through. And because of that, I now feel like I'm attached to that place and there's value for me being in that space. So that's technically what it means for an underrepresented student in some cases. And it's also understanding that the makeup of who I am as a person is welcomed, um, in wherever I am, that I don't feel like I'm an outsider, that there's someone that I can connect with, someone that I can build a relationship with, and someone in the sense that truly connects me to who I am and genuinely appreciates as far as that relationship that I have. So once we do that and create those safe spaces, that psychological safety space aspect of it, that people can be who they want to be, as they are and bring their true authentic selves into a situation or to a place, then that's where belonging actually flourishes.
Your leadership evolved as you've taken on larger responsibilities.
It's taught me so much as far as with my leadership being involved evolving over time and in different relationships or positions in the sense that I've been in. I think it's given me a different lens. As you go through leadership, your responsibilities change,
Mhm.
from leading student employees. Yeah, I'm leading student employees, I'm depositing into them. But there's different between your leading student employees and you're leading a whole department and your responsibility for all of the operational aspects of that particular area versus in the sense you get into the strategic aspect of it. You're responsible for creating strategic initiatives and strategies and policies that help to move the institution forward with the student in mind. So all of that changes the dynamic of how you lead. You go from leading processes to leading operations. And that takes on a different level of responsibility and a different level of ownership when it comes into those moments where now you have to deposit into people's lives. And I say as we grow as a leader and we're supervising people, yes, we're supervising as far as the work, but we're also a direct contributor into what happens to that person's life. We can decide that someone isn't a fit for our particular institution, and that separation can dismantle their families. So it's a different level of responsibility as we grow in our leadership and our responsibility to the individual. I say all the time that we're responsible to people, but we're not responsible for people. So our goal is to be a resource to those individuals that we're leading so that we can help to develop them so that they can reach their full potential and become that individual in the sense that they can reflect back on and say, you believed in me, you deposited in me, and you wanted something, you wanted me in my best self. And that's what happens and that's what evolves over time as you think about growing in leadership.
What does it mean to lead with empathy in higher education?
Mhm. I would say you care. um, Ultimately, that's with an empathetic leader. You truly care about the people that you're engaging with. There's too many times and too many stories that I've heard of people feeling that they're not connecting with the people, with their leader, their supervisor per se, leading within their particular spaces. And a lot of times it's attributed to one is we're not listening to our people. And then the other thing is that we're not truly demonstrating the humanistic side of who we are and connecting it with the innate side of who they are. So
Mhm.
being able to understand that, and it would say all the time, I put on my pants like you put on your pants. Being able to say that I'm a human just like you, I bleed just like you. So there is a commonality there, and I'm not above you. I might be in a different particular position, have a different responsibility. But when it comes down to it, we're still humans. And because of that, I want to care about the human that exists with you and not just the position. Because if I can connect with a human, then I can get different things out of you because there's a particular relationships that's built. So it gives you that level of empathy where you care what's going on in their families. You care what's going on in their lives. You can attest to if the kid's sick, yes, take care of your kid. You can attest to if you're sick, I want you to stay home so that you can be well, versus in the sense, no, there's work that needs to be done. And because there's work that needs to be done, you need to be at work. That doesn't make any sense because we are all human beings and we will want someone to care for us too if something was to happen. So we need to make sure that we're reciprocating that to the people that we're also engaging and leading.
Wow. So with this evolution that you've had with your leadership, as you've grown into the education system, can you tell us how is it that this has taken shape to help you form the bonds and relationships you have with your students?
I think it's ultimately with them seeing that I'm human. I've never, as a person, being one, even as I advance, I have a PhD. I've never been the one to advance and say that I'm better than you. My mom named me Keyimani, and I'm okay with being called Keyimani. So it gives me an opportunity to be able to relate to my students and say, I'm human like you. Let's have a conversation. You're going through a situation. Let me tell you what I went through. And they can see who Keyimani is and not Dr. Alford. And I think that aspect of it allows you to have that connection and to truly be able to build those relationships with the students. And they're not now intimidated by you. Sometimes people take the whole aspect of it like, I'm doctor and you're going to call me doctor and I'm going to walk around here and you're going to, in a sense, give me this level of respect. Don't nobody care about those accolades. We care about the impact that you're going to have on the student's life. And it's the impact that's going to change their futures. So we're in education for social and economic mobility and to create a world-class citizen that's going to go into these spaces and do meaningful and powerful things. I don't care about a credential. It's a matter of what impact can I have on your life? And if that impact requires you being able to call me Kimani, or if you calling me bruh or dude, I'm okay with that because it's the impact. Because when it comes into the impact and the relationship being built, then I can have a real conversation with you if you're not progressing and say, you know what, Charles, you screwing up today and what's going on. Let's get this in alignment so that you can move forward. Versus in the sense, well, you know, I'm Dr. Alfred, and because I'm Dr. Alfred, you have to do X, Y, and Z. They don't care about that. They want to know the personal relationship, and if you have that personal relationship and remove titles and strip titles and this whole facade in the sense that we're perfect, it creates an opportunity for them to see you as a human, and then also to be able to have a level of respect that allows them to be successful in their spaces.
You know, that is, I mean, I gotta say, yeah, I know you probably heard this a million one times, but that in itself, that's so impactful because I mean, I'm sure, and I'm not there in Madison, but I am sure that the students that run across you or that have that connection with you feel more than comfortable to just not just when it comes to relating, but having opportunities that can exist to come to you to get that help. That's what a lot of kids need when they first get to college, especially those first timers. And you know, from my understanding of some of the things that I've seen when I was in school is that, you know, I know times have changed since then, but but I mean, like, you know, instructors were, as you were saying, they were hooked on that title.
Mhm.
Okay, doctor, I said so, or whatever have you. But you know, to get the humanistic side is something that I guess as times have evolved, that these things have changed.
Right.
But in that change, do you see that change as being positive or something that's fruitful to help both the student and the instructor?
Yeah, I think definitely the change is positive because students now are coming to us with issues. They're coming and dealing with so much that they're carrying responsibilities, dealing with things within the world per se, and they're trying to learn to navigate these spaces. So they're looking for someone that they can attach themselves to that can help guide them. And because of that, it's changing the way that we do things, where things can't, in a sense, just be this blanket, one size fits all approach. We need to be personal with our students and create those relationships that we can do proactive outreach. How are you doing? Like
Mhm.
truly, like how are you doing? What's going on in your life? In the sense that will allow us to be able to help you. Because here are some resources that I'm privy of that might also be able to help you get through. those particular situations. So as students are coming to us, they're demanding more. They're demanding more relationships. They're demanding more things that are personalized to them, and it's creating space for us to be able to think about truly how do we support the individual that's coming to us, not a number. How are we supporting the individual that's stepping foot on our campuses in order to change their lives and then also to help to make them successful? Our current president talks about stickiness. Stickiness is basically creating that relationship that the student can be comfortable coming to you, and also it brings about a level of responsibility. You think about if you have a relationship with someone, if you're not showing up, that person that you have the relationship with is going to start looking for you. Hey, Charles, I haven't saw you in a while. What's going on? It's that
Right.
level of responsibility and relationship that we want to create for our students. And so part of that demanding is coming from the students, where they're looking at higher education. I'm spending all this money for a degree. I don't just want to be a number. I want to have an experience while I'm here too.
Exactly.
And while they're having that experience, it's building a relationship, because one day they're going to walk across the stage, and the only people that's rooting for them should not be, as far as their parents, it should be the ones that help to educate them and then also advise them and support them with their financial needs. So it's, as they say, it takes a village to raise a child. It's that whole aspect of it that we have to think about, and when it comes into that support, and that's what's been demanded.
So, do you support veteran and military connected students in meaningful ways?
I think so veteran services is a unit that actually reports under me. So it's one of the spaces in the sense that we really hone in as far as understanding the uniqueness of that student population, and ensuring that they have a voice at the table, one, based off of what they've contributed for serving our country. So if there's any veterans out there, I salute you. Thank you for your service. But then also really understand as far as what they contribute to the ecosystem of our colleges and universities across the country, and being able to provide those needed supports, that's there, the different benefits, the different services that deals with the things that they might have dealt with, post-traumatic syndrome, PTSD aspect of it. And as they're coming to our institution, what are some of those resources that we can have available in order to support what they might have experienced fighting for our countries? So being able to create those spaces and create that level of community that they can feel as if they're home as they're transitioning from the military space into the civilian space, because that's a transition that a lot of people don't talk about all the time. But being able to understand that dynamic and transition into our colleges and universities is definitely one that we put out there to be able to support them in success coaching and career development and academic advising, and understand as far as what their benefits. All of that becomes as a suite, and being able to connect them to others resources within the community. So that's kind of like how we support them now, along with so many other benefits, different engagement and events and activities that we have as well to build that community.
Barriers still need to be dismantled in higher education.
You said what barriers still need to be?
Systemic barriers.
Systemic barriers. One is the whole aspect of looking at course completion. There is, without a doubt, research that is across the nation that shares that underrepresented students, especially our Black and brown males specifically, are not basically succeeding or being retained at the rate of their white counterparts. So looking at, as far as those type of data and really drilling in and mining into those particular areas, helps us to address like what is truly the issue behind that, and how do we as a nation, as an institution, really get at the heart of those systemic aspects of it. It's without question that higher education was not necessarily designed for the Black and brown person, individual. It's just reality. We can go back to 1965 and we understand as far as how it was created, and it was not necessarily designed for us, and that's just our truth. but then being able to expose that and then also say, okay, so if it wasn't designed for us, what systems do we put in place in order to allow us to be successful in those spaces? And sometimes it might be creating a program that specifically brings in the elements of belonging to be able to support the students so that they can feel that they're a part of the institution if they're a predominantly white institution. What is it that's out there that, and since while they're in some of these spaces of high school and they're not getting the level of academic rigor that's needed for them to be successful as they transition into school, and they're taking prerequisites in here to basically come up to the speed as far as English and math, as far as reading level and comprehension level. What can we do in order to support them? So, like, really looking at the systemic issues that are in society and how they impact the students as they're transitioning into our institutions of post-secondary, because all of that matters. And there's reasons behind all of it, and since for them to be successful.
What legacy do you hope to leave in the field of student success?
What legacy do I plan? You know, I just had this conversation last week, and we were talking about legacy. And it was a conversation that one of my colleagues asked a president, and it was like, what did you want your legacy to be? And the group of presidents actually said, and they laughed, and it's like, it's not about you. Who cares about your legacy? Your goal is to come in and make the institution and the lives of our students better. Your purpose, once you do that, as far as to make the lives of the students better and an institution better, will build its legacy all in itself. If you do what's right, then things are going to follow you. You're going to see results from it. So when we talk about legacy, or when I talk about legacy, I think even now it's more about what impact am I making in the lives of a student. If I touch one student and they're able to graduate, that's my legacy, because I've created a vehicle, or was a vehicle in a sense, for them to accomplish their goal. And if they graduate, then they can get a good paying job, and it changes as far as the future of their family. And then it might even become a domino effect. They graduate, then the next person graduates. So that becomes my legacy when I see that type of impact. Or in a sense, a legacy where I give someone an opportunity, in a sense, to be able to reestablish their financial aid, and then they go off and become a mayor or chairman of an organization, entrepreneur. That becomes my legacy, because I was a vehicle to allow another person to achieve their dreams. So yes, I would love at some point to have a building with my name on it. Yes, at some point I would love to have a scholarship that's in my name. But my aspect of it is, what impact can I make on the students that I'm engaging with and I'm encountering with, because they're the ones, in the sense, that's truly going to benefit for everything. At one point, I'm going to leave this earth. But if they can reach back and say, I remember I met with Keyimani in his office and he told me X, Y, and Z. And because he told me that, it changed the way I was thinking about life. And I was able to do the thing that I want to do, like graduate. So that will be my legacy, just seeing students successful.
Transition over to your authorship and writing journey. What inspired you to write Oakland Hills, Milwaukee Rivers?
I would say divine purpose. I tell this story all the time, and I shouldn't say all the time. I tell this story when it comes into this book, because I shared, as far as like, I had the opportunities when I could talk to people and they felt comfortable talking with me. But the other aspect of it is, I had started writing Oakland Hills, Milwaukee Rivers 4.5, 5 years, probably like 5.5 years now, because the book has been out about a year. But I started writing it, and I wrote 2 chapters and left it in a file on my laptop. Didn't touch it. I didn't touch it for 2.5 years. And I was driving from work. I'm in Madison right now. I was driving from Madison back to Milwaukee. And on the road, God spoke to me and told me to finish what you started. Just like that. And when he spoke to me, I knew exactly what he meant. So it was there that I knew I had to finish telling the stories of my life and the different things that I had to navigate and overcome in order to be able to help someone else. So I did that for a good 5, 6 months. I cut out everything that was extracurricular, gave up weekends. When I worked, I went home and wrote. On weekends, I would write in some cases for 24 to 48 hours. I would see the sun come up in the morning because I was dedicated as far as to getting as far as this message out to the world because the world needed to hear it. And it was all inspired by God basically just telling me that I need to finish what he told me to do and stop basically dragging my feet and doing it. So from there, it allowed me to reminisce as far as the different lessons that I learned within life because I've always been one to see things from a positive perspective and understanding that although negative things happen to me, just because negative things happen to me, it doesn't mean that good can't come from the negative. So it allowed me to write the various stories of me growing up in Oakland and playing with my friends and my mom raising the window and yelling my name, and everybody in the neighborhood can hear her calling me, Keyimani, your mom's calling you. Or it allowed me to tell the stories of my dad being on the other side of town and I longed for his presence, but I didn't get what I wanted. But was I craving for? What was I desiring? And what were other boys who were like me in a sense desiring in that moment? So being able to be that kid and write to that kid to say, I experienced this particular situation and I was going through drugs and going into the house and flicking the light switch coming home from school and the lights don't come on. And I'm there with a friend from school and he faces or experiences that moment with me. How do you describe and share those moments with folks to say, you know what, I experienced this. And one of my goals is to make sure as I grow older and the people in the sense say my own family doesn't have to experience this. And then also being able to say, how do you deal with the aspect of you losing your parent and you intentionally do things to build relationships with him or her in some cases and time runs out before you can fully mature the relationship that you wanted. How do you navigate that space of grief? How do you forgive yourself for what you wanted and accept for what God gave you? How do you cherish and appreciate the guardian angels that come into your lives and you realize God is the one that orchestrated as far as their presence in order to impact your life? And how do you elevate their value and allow the worth and celebrate those in the sense that truly have impact within your life in order to change things? So that all came from the inspiration and being able to tell that story um, in a way that connects and pierces the heart of everyone that reads it. Um, and that's Oakland Hills, Milwaukee Rivers. Because I have other publications out there, but as far as Oakland Hills, Milwaukee Rivers was the gateway to as far as my whole writing aspect of it and being able to have a moment where I'm writing and it seems like we're having a conversation like we are now, and I'm speaking directly to you,
Mhm.
has been so liberating. And it's been a moment of reflection where I've had students crying. I've had colleagues tell me that they had to put the book down because they could see themselves in so many ways that it was a form of healing for them. It's those moments in the sense that inspired the book to also help me to know that it was divinely orchestrated, that I was supposed to write it, and that it's basically a change agent in the lives of the many things that a lot of us are facing as we're walking our day to day routines and having our day to day routines and just in life in general.
Well, that that speaks volumes. So that means that you had to really put the real intimate details in this book while writing it.
Oh yeah. There was moments when I was writing the book and I had to ask myself, like, Kimani, do you really want to say that? Um, because there's a chapter 4, and it's called Silent Shadows. It's a very intimate, revealing chapter where I talk about secrets that we hold, in some cases, all of our lives that we don't share with anyone. And when I wrote that chapter, that was one that I had to ask myself, Kimani, do you really want to share this? Because it was a moment in my life and it was a secret that I revealed for the first time in that book. I never told any I never told any best friends. I never told my mother, no family members. It was a moment that I shared, a very intimate moment that I shared of things that happened to me that I carried for over 35 years and no one ever knew. And it would have been a moment that many people would have crumbled, or you'd be in therapy, you have to see a psychiatrist about it. But it was one that I carried and didn't allow it to crumble who I was or dismantle or destroy who I was, but it allowed me to see a different side of that particular experience. So when I wrote that, that's in a sense was that moment where I realized if someone was going to be helped and someone's going to be healed, I had to be vulnerable and I had to lay it all out there, lay the truth out there, because that's where people can relate and that's where the actual healing comes from. When we can face the things that we try to hide and allow whatever God, the universe, to do what it needs to do in order to push us forward to our purpose. And it's a moment that I do not regret. It was very vulnerable and a scary moment, I would say, but it's one that I do not regret at all because so many people have been blessed by
Your strength and resilience, and you just need to continue to and stay strong, though.
it.
How did writing your memoir change you?
Mhm. How did it change me? I think it gave me, I shouldn't say think, I know. It gave me a level of responsibility. There was I'll say a level of responsibility, but then there was a moment that I felt I took the power back from my situations. And it allowed me, and I didn't realize it until I wrote it and I was having some conversations with like some friends, and I was sharing that being able to go into detail as far as what happened in my life and to talk about it, in some cases for the first time, um, gave me a form of liberation. And it gave me a level where I could embrace truly who Kimani was, unapologetically, without reservation, without opinions, thinking about the opinions of others. It was a moment where I said, this is who Kimani is, and this is what shaped who Kimani is. I told my friends when I wrote the book, I said, if you truly want to know who I am, you need to read my book,
Mm.
because it was the moment where I said to myself, I don't care. I don't care what you think. I don't care what you say. I don't care as far as what your ideologies are. This is my truth. And it is my truth that is going to be able to, one, make me free, but it is also going to help to make somebody else free. And it was that moment, in a sense, where it changed who I am. And I feel that it unlocked so many other opportunities and so many other ways, in a sense, for me to truly step into my purpose and make an impact within this world. So that's how it changed me.
Shaken leadership mean in practice, not just theory.
So a lot of time, so I wrote Unshaken Leadership because I felt as a leader, although I've been in leadership now over 32 years,
Mhm.
I felt that leaders often get put into positions based off of a person seeing something in them, they're aspiring to do something, the level of potential. But a lot of times people get put into leadership positions, 60% actually of leaders get put into leadership positions without adequate training.
Mhm.
And when they get in these positions, it's either a level of sink or swim. And you have theories that are given to you, but nobody wants to tell you the mistakes that I made along the journey because they want to put up a facade as if they are perfect. And no one arrives overnight. So I wrote that book specifically to be able to speak to the person to say, you know what? I might be in my particular space, but guess what? Or my particular position. But guess what? I made mistakes and it's okay for you to make mistakes too. But the thing is, you need to learn from your mistakes because your mistakes is what's going to give you the confidence for you to be successful. So I wrote real hard lessons of the things that I learned during my particular career and what I had to do to navigate them and attach them to the actual practices and the strategies in order for people, other people like me, other leaders, new aspiring, even seasoned leaders, to be able to move forward in that space and have the confidence to not be in their head thinking, oh my God, I messed up and I can't do this. You can do it. You just have to be able to learn from your mistakes and move on, learn from it, move on and be the best you and have what's necessary to become unshaken. So that's why I wrote that book and that's where it is. And now that book is the one of me. I wrote in the book, I'm your mentor in writing because I'm talking directly to you. Like, look, I effed up. And because I effed up, I want to tell you the real deal situation here. And I think that is why so many people have been able to relate to it and have felt that the book is really, really powerful and useful because you're not only just getting theories and frameworks, you're getting me saying, you know what, there was a decision that I made. It wasn't the best decision, and this was the outcome of the decision, but this is what I learned. If you do this, then you won't have to worry about making the same mistake. And it's that aspect of it where I say you get the real deal, raw truth to
Mhm.
leadership through this book that people basically have um, appreciated it and inspired and actually have been changed by it. I got a text message the other day that somebody told me was like, I just got through reading your book. It was very well written and it was phenomenal. Thank you. And it's those type of messages that inspire me because it lets me know that being vulnerable and telling the truth actually helps to change lives and makes people better.
How do you approach writing as both healing and instruction?
So the instruction aspect of it is standards. So there is a level of standards that we have to adhere to. I am very, very, I think, anal when it comes into writing, and especially as a minority within this space, because 5 to 7% of published authors are Black, 19% are minorities. So it lets you know that 81% of folks that are published authors are not us. So that means it's a level of scrutiny as we're writing. So I hold us to a level of standard, and that goes into that level of responsibility that goes with the writing element of it. So the whole aspect of like truth and the vulnerability aspect of it, and as far as the responsibility comes into really just telling your story. All of us have a story, and it's our responsibility to be able to tell our story and tell it the way that we want to tell it. Within the aspects of making sure that we're upholding to the standards of the industry in order so that we're not one embarrassing ourselves, but then also two, we're putting something that is valuable for people to be able to learn from and to be able to move forward and even improve their life, whether if it's entertainment or if it's some form of self-help, if it's some aspect of liberation or therapy that's needed. Whatever you do, put it with excellence and allow that in a sense to be able to tell its own story.
Mhm. Do you hope readers take from your leadership book?
That you can be human. You don't have to know everything. And one is that you can recover from any mistake that you make, that you're not expected to be perfect. And whatever obstacle that you're facing within in leadership, your goal is to, in a sense, network, in a sense, from people, do what you can as far as to learn from the situation, but approach it with the confidence that you gave your best. And as long as you give your best, you can recover from any mistakes that happen. So that's why I say it's a practical blueprint for overcoming challenges, learning from mistakes, and growing in confidence, because all of that goes hand in hand as far as to be a successful leader. It's not about you acting like it that you're perfect. No. Sometimes us as leaders have to confess that, you know what, I don't know the answer. And because I don't know the answer for it, I'm going to have to lean on somebody else in order to help us get the answer, because my goal is to lead us. It's not to solve every problem. And when we take on the impression that, in the sense that we have to know everything, be everything, and do everything, then that's what cripples us as leaders, and we're not able to evolve and grow and do what we necessarily need to be. So that's the core message within a particular book, that you can be unshaken if you embrace the ability to know that you are going to make mistakes, but you're also supposed to grow in the mistakes, and based off of that, you're supposed to develop the confidence that you approach that moving forward, with having somewhat of a blueprint to be able to navigate those spaces again.
Is it important to create a self-publishing guide specifically with insights for Black voices?
So this is really near and dear to my heart. One is I got into publishing space because I knew I wanted to tell the story, right? I wanted to tell my story. And when I started writing Oakland Hills and Milwaukee Rivers, I had no idea how to become an author. Like, I knew that you can go through the big box publishing companies or whatever, you have to submit your manuscript and things of that nature. But I didn't want anyone to be able to tell my story. I wanted to be able to tell my story the way I wanted to tell it, how I wanted to tell it, and when I wanted to tell it. And I didn't want anyone to control and dictate what I should put in and what I should put out, because it wasn't about me selling books. It was about me telling my story to help someone. So I wrote self-publishing from scratch because I had to learn myself all of the processes, all the minutia that goes into publishing. And I discovered so much and learned so much and invested so many hours into doing it, that I want to make sure that others had that, because I would have questions from people saying, how did you publish? How did you do this? How did you do that? How did you write? What is an ISBN? Do I have to copyright? Do I have to format my book this way? What about my cover? Should my cover be X, Y? Is there a particular design that a cover should be based off the genre? That was a lot of questions that I was getting, a lot of things, and since that I was learning or had learned, along with, like, what are the actual companies that I should publish with? What does it mean in the sense, or when it comes into developmental editing, line by line editing, proofreading? What are beta readers? What are ARC readers? It was all of these things that I had learned throughout my journey that was not common to people. And I would say also that I was running across too many of my people that was not putting out quality work. And I'm a very anal person that thrives off of standards and visualization, where I want things to look right. And because I think what you put out is a reflection of who you are. And I don't think, and I'm not saying that if something is bad looking cover designs and things of that nature, it doesn't mean that a person isn't well put together. It tells me the story of, you might not have the resources in order to put out the level of excellence that you're doing, and you're trying to get it out without understanding what is compromising for you. So after observing all of that and then doing research and finding out as far as the true disparity of minorities within publishing, the publishing space, and understanding that a lot of our stories are now being erased from museums, from history, that we have a responsibility to tell our own story. We
Right.
have a responsibility to preserve our legacies, our families' legacies, our insights, and we can do that through self-publishing. So I wrote the book specifically to speak to overall those who want to publish, but specifically to Black voice to say there's a responsibility that comes with this. There's a responsibility that we have to put out quality work. There's a responsibility that we have to be integral in what we do. And there's a responsibility that we have to contribute to this world. And with that, it was me taking that approach and saying, this is my contribution back to our community for us to be able not to be able to say that I did not know because I created something that illuminates and amplifies. These are the standards in the sense for you to do what's necessary within this particular space. And when I did that, it was an opportunity in a sense to provide that blueprint, that resource in order to do it right and stop having to second guess on what you should do because I laid out it was a complete brain dump where I spent over 2,000 hours of researching, writing, and putting things up into that book so that we can benefit from it. Um, and it was one of, I would say it was the hardest book I had to write because you can't write a book talking about standards and you don't make sure you have the standards in it.
Mhm.
So it was definitely one I went back and forth with it. Like, all right, is this the standard? Is the formatting right? Is my pages starting on the odd side with no page numbers? Is my headings right? Is my paragraphs formatted right? All of that mattered because I wanted to make sure that that excellence was put out during this particular book. And that's why I wrote it because there's multiple layers of the onion that I had to pull back when it came into this work. And I wanted to make sure that we were prepared in order to do it as people are continuing to publish that and then understanding everything that I had to learn along the way that could be beneficial. And in that book, I talked about the different things that I made mistakes on, the money that I spent and wasted doing things as I learned. So it's another resource to say this is a way that you can publish and save yourself money if you get this book that's $17.99 to be able to support you versus in the sense you spending $500 in the sense to do something and you end up losing your money. Where in a sense the resources and the support that I have and the insight that I have in that book is well over $6,500 worth of resources and support within that I've dumped into that book. But you get it for $17.99 because I've created that space in order to do that. It's a whole 36 pages of resources, tools, charts, tables that's embedded within this book because I wanted things to be tangible for the reader in order for them to have it and have that true blueprint to sit down and say, all right, if I follow this, all 20 chapters, and then utilize these resources, I can go from point A to point B or point Z and get everything done because a lot of people get stuck. And I wanted to make sure that you had that complete comprehensive guide in order to get you through.
Let's transition over here to. I know that I know time is kind of running out, so I don't want to push you too far, but we're actually going to go a little bit past the 7:30 time frame, if that's okay. I want to talk a bit about your publishing and keywords unlocked, which you just got to talking about. But what inspired the creation of Keywords Unlocked?
So keywords unlock. What's so funny is so for years I've been writing keywords. Keywords are Keyimani Alford's thoughts. It's a motivational quotes and encouragement that I will put out into the world that people basically were resonating with. I believe that there's power in our words. There's power in what we say, and what we say determines as far as what manifests. I have a book coming out soon. It's called Think, Speak, Manifest. But it talks about as far as what we're thinking, what we speak, and what actually comes out. So Keywords Unlocked deals specifically with that and allows us to be able to take everything that I learned, the whole process of being able to support well, not necessarily support students, but support authors, aspiring authors and writers, to be able to put out their word with a resource of someone that has the lived experiences of the challenges that it takes. And Keywords Unlock was not created for some money maker. It was created to help our people publish our stories authentically in the way that we want to publish them, without the minutia and the red tape of me dictating, or the company dictating what you can say and how you can tell your story. So Keywords Unlock was formed based off of that. One is because I had to learn the publishing company space and what was, or the industry and what was needed. But then I also wanted to support other authors and writers in order to get their stories out based off of the work that I was doing. And it has been a remarkable experience because I've helped people now publish as far as their books, and their books are doing really well and they're resonating with people. And I'm continuing to build upon clients in order to be able to support them. And I do it for a fraction of the cost in order for them to do it. And they're working directly with me, and I'm guiding them and giving them coaching and developing and connecting with some other members of my team in order to support their work. So that's the story behind Keywords Unlock, that I wanted to create a vehicle to allow us to be able to publish and to be able to get our stories out into the world, one story at a time, with a goal at some point within the next couple of years to be able to help 100 authors publish their books for the first time.
So tell us, what are some of the barriers that Black authors face in traditional publishing?
Not knowing the true steps to really publish their story. And I talked about some of the standards that are being missed. I pick up books all the time. One is because I try to support people. But what I notice is there is a clear distinction that there is a lack of education in true authorship and true publishing. And a lot of times it is found in the aesthetics of publishing. It's not always the messaging, but it's the aesthetics and the time and the quality that's put in there, from formatting your book, from having an actual good cover, to what do you actually put on the back cover of a book? What's supposed to go on your spine? Do you supposed to copyright? How do you protect yourself? What is an ISBN? A lot of people are publishing without ISBNs. What is as far as the impact of it if you just choose Amazon's ISBN and the level of control that they do? So it's like unpacking all of that aspect of it. And it's clear in some cases that people within the community don't necessarily know that. You want to be an author. Yes, you want to be an author, and you're going to find out that you can upload a template, but it's off center and all of this. So it's a level of standard that the industry requires for you to be even taken seriously. What are those conversations that are happening behind closed doors? Right now, they're talking about AI. And if you do anything with AI, you're not considered to be an author. What are those conversations in the sense that will dictate as far as how you're perceived in the world, and how do we, in a sense, get in front of that? So it's a lot of aspect of it that's missing because folks that haven't done the research and understand truly what those standards are and what those true steps are to be a respectable published author that's out there. And that's, in a sense, some of the things that are missed often when it comes in this. A lot of people think that you don't have to copyright. My stuff is protected all the time. Yeah, it's protected to a certain element, but if someone wants to steal your work, you have to prove that it's yours. And the There's this misinformation that if I mail my manuscript back to me in the mail and don't open it, then that's considered to be that's a myth. That does not stand up in court. You have to have true paperwork to say that your stuff is copyrighted in order for you to win the battle within the court. So it's those type of things that occurs within the space that we just don't know because we haven't done our research. And because I have done research and spent extensive amount of time doing it, those are some of the things that gets uncovered as I'm doing things. And now I'm looking at books and I can tell like you didn't do this right. um,
So, how do you help writers move from idea to execution?
Really, so my first session, so I do, of course, like in Keywords Unlocked, I have a free consultation session, 30-minute session that I try to understand, like, where are you in your writing process? Have you written a manuscript? Are you just the idea aspect of it? What is your goal? So once a person decides that they want to work with Keywords Unlock, our first session is for me to understand your why. You have to be writing to a particular person in order to be able to solve a problem because every book should solve a problem. And thinking about that, we talk and brainstorm as far as what particular direction are you planning to go with your particular book as we establish your why and who you're writing to and who you're writing for. And as we go through that particular process, then we look at manuscripts and I spend some time really dissecting what's in this manuscript. What are you saying? What haven't you said? What needs to be amplified? Why did you say this? If you said it in here, why aren't we amplifying it? Why are you shunning away from it? It will be impactful for your reader to know as far as about this. So we spend time literally unpacking that in order to get them from an idea of being a writer and an author to actually materializing it along the process and informing them as far as the different steps that it takes in order to get to that finish line and what the business side is behind it as far as like really navigating the spaces and the systems in order for you to truly be established. So that's how we go from idea to actual reality, I would say, in the book.
So, let's pivot over to your motivational speaking and impact.
hmm
So, what led you to become a motivational speaker?
Understanding that I had a level of influence, a level of impact, and then also the lived experiences to be able to share it with authenticity and vulnerability. I tell people when I get up, usually, that I'm not here to just speak at you. I'm here to get you to think about your life, to process what you went through, but then also to provide the hope and the inspiration and the motivation in a sense to move forward within the day and throughout your life. And leading with that and being very personal in my speaking and sharing those moments, it allows me to really connect with my audience and allow them to see the humanistic side of the guy that's standing before them and be able to create these spaces where they become a person who's in my living room, I would say, and we're having a conversation. So that becomes the motivation behind it. One, but then the other thing is to be able to see change. I want to see people to be their best selves. I want people to navigate and escape from the opinions of others and to live in their truth and be able to accept their truth in the authenticity that comes with who they are as an individual and as a human. And that comes from the speaking and being able to challenge the norms to say you can be who you are and you're perfect just the way you are.
What message do you feel called to deliver in this season of your life?
That you can overcome and do anything that you want to do in life. There's absolutely nothing that you cannot do if you decide to do it. I believe that Dreams are God's way of showing you what's possible. It's a glimpse into what your future can be. So if you think it, it can become a reality. And that is as far as what I'm living off of, and what I'm inspiring folks as far as to be, as far as to be able to do what you need to do, because one day you'll look back. If you do it, you take the risk, you're going to look back and be like, wow, I actually did that, and I wouldn't have done it if I did not take that risk.
Final question for you. How do you prepare yourself mentally and spiritually before speaking?
Pray. So, I mean, honestly, whenever I get on a stage, and I had to share this with someone actually today, I was getting some coffee, and they were talking about they were speaking for an event next month, and it was like, I'm nervous or whatever. And I said, you don't, and I told them, I said, you don't have to be, you don't have to be nervous. You're the expert. Go in confident in who you are, and step on the stage and be who you are, and ask God, and this is my aspect of it, I ask God to do what he needs to do with me for the people that I'm in front of, because I'm there specifically in order to live out the purpose that he created me for. And if I live and connect to him, then the rest is going to be revealed and be done in that particular space. Because it's not about Keyimani. It's about, why is Keyimani here in front of you? Because there's something that Keyimani has to say that's going to touch somebody within that audience. So that's how I prepare. I say a little prayer, say, God, do what you need to do in my life. Do what you need to do right now in this moment. And when you do that, I trust that by the time I get off of this stage, somebody will have been inspired or touched from what I say.
So, in closing, what are some words of wisdom and encouragement that you would like to give to our audience? How they could connect with you via your social media, how they could connect with you via your websites?
Yeah, so I'll start with connecting with me. Now, you can connect with me at drkeyspeaks.com is my website, and that has all of my motivational speaking information. Actually, all my books and stuff are on there as well, and materials. And I have a blog that I upload information on, so you can connect with me for drkeyspeaks.com. You can also connect on the publishing side at Keywords Unlocked. That's key, Key, words unlocked.com for any publication. If you're thinking about becoming an aspiring writer or author, I can help you through all of those processes. Feel free to reach out to me as well. If you want to reach me through email, feel free. It's drkeyspeaks@gmail.com as well. I'm on Facebook, Dr. Key Speaks. I'm on Instagram, Dr. Key Speaks. I'm on YouTube, Dr. Key Speaks. And then if you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm there also. Not Twitter, TikTok. I have some stuff that's out there on TikTok. I'm really, really active on TikTok. We're dropping motivational things on TikTok as well. And that's Dr. Key Speaks also. But as far as to leave something with the audience, I would say to you, in this season that you're in, do not allow the opinions of others and the noise of others to dictate what you can be and what you can become and what you can do. Allow your thoughts in your heart and your mind to guide whatever your next step is. If you listen to that person on the inside and allow that to guide you, there's absolutely, positively nothing that you cannot do and nothing that you cannot accomplish.
Well, before I close the show tonight, I want to thank you for being here tonight and giving us this slew of information and this master class as to your creativity and how resilience has really been a major part of your life, and you are a living testament to that. I want to thank you, and I appreciate you again for being here, and hopefully we can get you back again.
I would love to be back. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I'm hoping that your show continues to prosper and grow in the bounds and the leaps and bounds that it's doing now. So thank you so much for the opportunity, and I would love to be back.
So, in closing, Dr. Alford, tonight you reminded us that leadership is not a title, it is a testimony. You showed us that healing is not a destination, it is a discipline. And you affirmed that our stories, no matter how heavy, can become keys that unlock freedom for others. Your journey from survival to purpose, from student to leader, from writer to publisher, is a blueprint for anyone who has ever wondered if their life could mean more. To our audience, may tonight's conversation push you to revisit your own story with new eyes. May it challenge you to lead with courage, to speak with conviction, and to believe that your voice matters. This has been season 4, episode 13 of America in Black and White. I'm Charles Zachary King, and thank you for joining us. And remember, your story is your power. Go use it. Good night to you all. We will see you tomorrow night for another great show. And thank you again, Dr. Keys. I'm sorry, Dr. Keyimani. And we will see you guys tomorrow night. Have a great evening.